Like I said, Google Classroom, there's extra practice joke sheet. We're going to look at that in a minute. Educal has Quizlet practices that you can click on. So on page 23, your quiz is Thursday. Tonight I'm going to be here till at least 4 o'clock, so if you can stay after school. Thursday morning, I think I have a meeting, so you can't really come in Thursday morning. The first part of the quiz, so 13 questions, 54 points. I can write 2 variable linear equations. There will be 7 questions worth 30 points. What do you mean write linear equations? I mean point slope, slope intercept, and standard form. Now on the C3 quiz, I had people just find the slope, and then they found the slope wrong. So I might give you, so on the quiz on Monday, I might give the slope at a point. I might give 2 points. They might be on a graph. Well, if it's on a graph, it's super easy to find the slope by counting, right? You count the rise going up to the run going left and right. You might find the slope. This is where some people were finding the slope run. They're putting x's over y's. It is always the change in y over the change in x. Subtracting your y's, subtracting the x's. So I had some people, and if you look back at your C3 quiz, people just found the slope. And they didn't answer the question, which was to write an equation. So they're walking upstairs, thus this moving. The second part is that I can graph the equations and linear inequalities. I would say if in your workbook you do that 5B, all of the questions, it's page like 55 to 58. If you go through those and you can answer them all and do them, you're going to do fine on the quiz. Because that's what it looks like. There's 28 questions there. We don't have that many, right? We're going to only have 13 on the quiz. And then precision with your math. Making sure when you plot the points that you're being very precise as you're showing those. This is page 326. This is finding x and y intercepts. This is drawing a line using x and y intercepts. This is writing an equation using the x and y intercept, graphing them. Questions that I could answer from the C4. The 3 forms, please look at question 39 from this page, 436, because it says the 3 forms of linear equations that you've studied are slope, intercept, point slope, and standard form. Explain what each form is most useful. And you're like, I don't know. We'll turn to the back and look at the answer, right? Like, look at it and then go, oh, or try to look in your notes and say, when did I use point slope? When did I use standard? When? So look back at that. It's not going to be wrong totally if you look at that like it's an explain and you're like, I have no idea. You try something and then look at the answer. I had someone else tell me, Mrs. Thompson, what do you mean look at the answer in the back of my textbook? In the back of your textbook, there is a glossary. And then there is a section that says selected answers, and it's all the odd answers. So very back of your textbook. I had 3 people yesterday from my algebra class going, I don't know where the answers are in the back when you keep talking about those. Okay, so now everyone knows? Good? Yep. Okay. Intercept in order to graph this. If I am finding the x-intercept, that means I want to know what is x when y is 0. Does that make sense to you? Now they gave us a formula, but that just means I'm going to go to this equation and I'm going to put x minus 2, but instead of y, I'm going to put a 0 equals 2. And I'm going to solve it. So x, 2 times 0 is just 0. So I got x equals 2. So I replace this with the 2. Okay? Then I find the y-intercept. And I go to the same question, and this time I'm looking for my y-intercept. I'm looking at when x is 0, what is the y form? Well, when x is 0, I get negative 2y, because it would have been 0 minus 2y, equals 2. And I divide both sides by negative 2, and I get negative 1. So I am going to graph number 9 with my y and x. And I'm going to the point 0, negative 1. That's going to be down here, 0, negative 1. and I'm going to 2, 0. Now, I have some people that don't like x and y intercept. And every single time they're like, not going to do it. I'm going to rewrite this in slope-intercept form. Could you have rewritten that equation in slope-intercept form? You have in number 9, if I have an equation I don't like to graph with x and y intercept, x minus 2y equals 2. If I wanted to get this in slope-intercept form, I'd rewrite it and get the y by itself. That's why I did literal equations in Unit A. I'd subtract x, and I get negative 2y equals negative x plus 2, and I divide everything by negative 2. And if I look at this equation in slope-intercept form for number 9, I now have y equals negative divided negative is a half, x, 2 divided by negative 2 is negative 1. Y-intercept negative 1. It has to be the same number. These two have to match. When I have a negative 1 for my y-intercept, it has to see 0, negative 1 on the graph. If I check this, is my slope 1/2 up 1 over 2? Yeah, I could do that. So both ways work. Some people prefer one over the other. Yeah.
Okay, so I did
the slope and a point. So like on the quiz, we're going to do that. The easiest form to do that is stop after this point, right? That's point slope. You're done. So that's what the quiz was today, that C4 quiz. Which, by the way, if you haven't done it, it's probably a 0 at this point because it was supposed to be done prior. So, but some people like to always rewrite it in slope-intercept form. Is that okay if you put it in slope-intercept form? Sure, for sure. You just simplified, multiplied that out and simplified it. But you need this right here, this negative 13, in order to answer this question. Because it says, well, what's the y-intercept? So I would have taken 0, negative 13, I would have taken negative 13. I did not want this for an answer on the quiz. Ooh. I did not want this whole equation for the answer of what's the y-intercept. So you need to be careful on the quiz when you look at that also, okay? All right, so C4. If you haven't checked the answers with the back, please turn, this is page 54 in your workbook, turn. 2 points and I'm trying to find my slope. As I look at this, I am going up from negative 1 to a positive 2. I'm going up 3. I'm going from negative 4 over to a positive 5. I'm going over 9. That is a slope of 3/9, but we want to simplify it to 1/3. Agreed? Okay. I then am going to pick a point. Harper, which point do you want to pick, the positives or the negatives?
positive.
So y equals 1/3, then what, Harper? X minus, are you using the 5/2 or negative 4, negative 1?
I think I did it wrong.
That's all right, just pick one that you're going to use for me.
What do I pick?
Well, we're doing, is it point slope, the easiest thing to do once we start? Okay, so we got y equals 1/3, x minus what? Which point are you using? 5, 2?
2.
Okay, so x minus
5
5
plus 2.
plus 2. We use the distributive property. It'll be as I distribute this, I'm going to end up with y equals what?
1/3 x plus
Minus
minus 5.
5, okay, 5/3 plus 2. So this is definitely not coming out nice, right? This is the work I'm going to want to see to get that answer, right? Because this is like going to be like a 4 or 5 point question on that. So I know this part is easy, but now I got to add these fractions together. And when I'm adding fractions, I have to have a common denominator. This is 2 over 1, and I have negative 5/3. So I am really adding negative 5/3 plus, if I have 3 in the denominator, I would have to have 6, right? 2 over 1 is the same as 6 over 3. So if I add those two together, my final answer for number 3 is y equals 1/3 x plus 1/3. Negative 5 plus 6. And if I look at this answer right here, this negative 1/3, Matches right there. I would say that's a pretty good match of 1/3. Now, if you would have told me negative 1/3 here, I have to mark that wrong, right? It doesn't even make sense. Negative is below down here, right? So, being really clear, number 2 on 5A, the M and the B. Tell me my equation in slope-intercept form would be y equals 4. That's it? No. You're going to write the whole equation slope-intercept. Myron, keep going. Y equals 4x minus 3. When they tell you this slope-intercept form, all you are doing is replacing the m with the number and the b with the number. But it's that whole equation. It has to be an equation, okay? So let's look at 3 through 5. Christian, which one? 3, 4, or 5? 4. Start me out, Ainsley. Point slope form. Y equals
-6 of x minus 9 minus 4.
Yes. They didn't say change it to slope-intercept, but I'm going to give you a problem, and I'm going to say, well, now change it to slope-intercept, right? So in number 6, what you have to do first in number 6, you have to find the slope. Change in y divided by change in x. After you do a problem, turn and look at the answers. Don't do the whole review and turn and look at the answer. Make sure you're right before you go further. So this is the answer where you'd stop. If I said rewrite it in slope-intercept form, I would look for you to do this. I would look for you to distribute y equals -6x. As I multiply -6 times positive times -9, Christian, I'd end up with what? How about a positive? Negative times negative? Positive 54, and then I have -4. So this equation would be in slope-intercept, -6x plus 50. And then I might say, well, what's the y-intercept? And you'd say 50. Say, what's the slope? And you go, oh, it was -6. We knew that originally in the problem, right? Okay? Let's look at 7, 8, 9. You're picking for us, Ilky. 9. It says right in standard form. Standard form, AX plus BY equals C. Now here we get to use decimals because it doesn't make sense to not use them. We don't have to make it like in standard. So you rent DVDs, $3.75 each from them, and video games for $4. Write an equation in standard form for the DVD's D. The cost of my DVD, 3.75 D. That's kind of like my X. Plus $4 for each game. G is my games. Plus 4G equals 18. Done. Stop. Don't do any more. You're not asked to solve. You're not asked to graph. Not asked to do anything with that question. Okay? We went through a couple of these yesterday, but does it make sense? Standard form 10, 11. Can I look at one of those for you guys? Do we need to answer questions or look at 10 or 11? Multiply everything by 8. We want to get rid of that fraction. So if we multiply everything by 8, we have, Myron, 8y equals? 3x plus 64. Really easy to put an 8 there, right? So just watch that. That's where a lot of times I'll get the mistake. Same one I just made, right? So now I need all the x's. I need the x to be positive. Well, if I want the x to be positive, I might subtract 8y from both sides. Do I need to subtract 8y? No. Could I have subtracted 3x? Yes. And then multiplied by -1. That works also, right? This way, I might also get rid of this 64 back here. How would I get rid of the 64? So I minus 8y, I could minus 64. We do that on this side of the equal sign, right? So I get -64 equals my x is positive, my y is negative. And does it matter if the -64 is out in front or behind it? The standard form, no. It just needs my a to be positive and no fraction. Okay? You subtract the 3/8x. That works perfect. And then you say, you know what? I need this to be positive, so I'm going to multiply everything by -8 instead of 8. Could we have done it that way? Yes. There are more than one way of getting to this final answer. Negative times negative. Oh, those 8's cancel. I'm going to have 3x. Okay, we have 3x. Negative 8 times y, negative 8y. Same thing I ended up here. Negative 8 times 8, negative 64. Exact same, different ways of doing it. So the key thing with standard form, x, y equals the number. All right, so looking at your graphs, it is really important that you understand the starting point. Like in number 12, Harper is in what form of the equation when you look at number 12? What form? Point slope, slope intercept, standard.
Standard?
12 is?
No.
No.
Point slope?
Point slope. So the beautiful thing about point slope, and people try not to use this, but the beautiful thing is they tell you a start point. Lauren, what is the start point in number 12?
Is 1
1 4?
Yeah.
Really close. I'm going to mark it wrong. What is it, Carter? You see the mistake? It's so easy to do it. Start point isn't 1 4, but negative 1. This tells me to go to negative 1 and 4, right? Now, this is where I might draw that slope face. Why? Because, oh, negative slope. I got to make sure it's going down. Undefined slope, 0 slope. Right? So I might put this on my quiz right away or on my review or my homework to help you. Because this line must be going down. How far does it go down if I'm looking at my slope? Europe. Down 5 and then what?
Over 1.
Over 1. And I'm going to do it again. Down 5 and over 1. And we're going to put arrows on there and it looks like that. Okay? 13 is what form, Ainsley? Of my 3. Point slope, standard slope, intercept. Really close to. X, Y number.
What was the period?
What? Point slope, slope, intercept, standard.
Standard?
Standard. When I see standard, could I rewrite this and put it in slope intercept? Yes. But could I find the x-intercept? Now they gave you a formula. What that really means for x-intercept is that you are looking at the y being 0 and you're trying to figure out what x is. And then you're going to find the y-intercept, and that's when x is 0 and you're trying to figure out this number. And you're just going to this equation and you're replacing the y with 0. Oh, if I replace y with 0, this is negative 4x equals 8. I divide both sides by negative 4 and get x equals negative 2. That means over here, I have a point at negative 2, 0. And then you'd want to graph the y-intercept also. You only need 2 points to graph a line, but a lot of times we use more. Okay? Questions on any other graphs as we're looking at them? We're looking at the landing the plane, so we look at that and we've tried those first ones, and now this one says, oh, change one number. So what I'll have some students do is they try to change everything. Just change one. That means either I'm going to change the slope. So do we think it should be up 2 and over 1? That's pretty steep, right? What do you think maybe instead? It should be maybe up what? Up 1. So we're going to try up 1. And then we're going to try, so what you're going to do, so you're going to go to this equation and you're going to say, oh, you know what? I don't think it's 2. I think it's 1. And then we see it. No, not 1. So now we're going to go back and we're going to go, okay, it's not 1. It should be more than 1 or less than 1? What do you want to use? You want negative 2 for a slope. Whoa. What did negative 2 do? Still same y-intercept, right?
Could do like half.
Oh, could we do like a half? Yes, you can do equals, and then we have, if I don't want to type in 1/2, 1 divided by 2, I could do it, oh, like how happy are, so
So this is a good one, really getting you to submit and to look at your slope and your y-intercept, how they wrote these two, then you're asked who's correct. And I would like you to make up your own. So when you click on this, it says drag a point to make your own runway, continue to the next screen. So take a look at that one. It's kind of cool. It'd be fun if your classmates can take a look at that, okay? So that is the fly the plane. It's 7 little screens. It shouldn't take you more than 10 minutes. So when you look at Google Classroom and you're like, what? This is due tomorrow too? So the Match My Line is scheduled, as we're looking at that one, it's going to introduce it on Thursday. It's again not due till like Friday, okay? C6, you are going to be doing that. You're going to be watching the video Friday. Friday is a school day, even though you are personally not here, right?